Hey y'all, Cam Walker, Texas agent here. I am at the Tusculum Brewing Company for this week's episode of Meet the Hill Country. Testing out a flight of beers, trying to see if I can find a new favorite. But I'm here today to give you guys a little bit of the history of the building that we're in. We're going to talk to Tripp Matthews a little bit and get some answers to questions that I've always been wondering, like where'd you come up with the name and how did you decide to get into this crazy world of brewing beer? We're going to take a tour and we're going to go look at the equipment and stuff that he uses to brew his beer and kind of explore the building as well. But I wanted to start with a little bit of the history for those of you that don't know. This building is located at 236 South Main. Originally, this was a one-story wood building back in 1902 when the Adler family first built it. Sometime between 1902 and 1911, I don't know what happened to the original building, but in 1911, this current structure was built, which is 2 stories and a basement. When you look at the top of the building, you'll see 1902, H.O. Adler, and 1911. That's the 2 dates. Now the Adler family used this building. They had upstairs was their residence, and in the main floor in the basement was their department store, general store that they ran for many years. And from what I'm hearing, sometime in between the Adlers having their store and the next business coming in, this building was used by an Army Reserve unit. There used to be tanks in the back, artillery stored downstairs. I heard there was even a shooting range downstairs. Then in the late 60s, the Bergman family had purchased the building and moved Bergman Lumber from their location across the street into this building. Bergman Lumber was here until 2017. Fast forward, Tusculum has leased the space, took over the building. They've done an amazing job of maintaining kind of the integrity of the building and the space and making it work for the brewery. So I'm sitting here with Tripp Matthews. He is the head of Brewing Operations here at Tusculum, and he's going to share a little bit about the process. First of all, how did you get into this?
So it's kind of an interesting thing. When I first went to college, I got my associate's degree in chemistry. Started homebrewing when I was 20, and then I'm not saying do that, but at 21, when I moved to Texas State, I had the background in chemistry. Some of my friends who worked at breweries in the area didn't understand some of the lab processes, and I kind of just like to hang out. And
so how long was this a dream?
5.5 years ago, we pretty solidly said we're going to open a brewery of some scale. I had designed a building to put on the corner of 1473 and 87. Okay. And so right there on the corner, and Dad had talked to Randy, and because Randy was like, oh, we're looking at doing this, and Dad's like, well, we'll just lease the building. The footprint of the actual warehouse is the same footprint of the building we were going to construct. We had the equipment coming by that point, so the only hurdles we had to figure out were the same hurdles we're going to have to figure out there anyway. It was getting power, it was getting a big enough water to it, and a big enough sewer connection. And so it took us essentially probably the same amount of time to get this open as it would have taken to do there, which was 18 months in total.
And where did the name come from? Why Tusculum?
We just decided on Tusculum Brewing Company because the original name of Boerne prior to 1850, for at least 50 years that we know, historically it was called Tusculum. The thing is that there's not really well written history on it, and we don't want to tell people something that isn't true,
right?
To kind of just flourish it or anything like that. And my brother, who's an anthropologist, has done a lot of research on it. Essentially, what we know the facts are about Tusculum is there was a group of essentially 14 families, the founding families of Boerne. Our motto, one of our mottos is kind of like where beer and history combine.
Very cool. Okay, so what do we have here?
Yes. Historically, beer is only made with 3 ingredients. So if we were to be a true Reinheitsgebot brewery, we would brew beer with what this is, just malted barley, hops, and then for us, good old Kendall County water. Most people will that are kind of are like, where's the yeast? Well, originally there wasn't. You didn't add yeast. Beer would essentially just ferment with whatever yeast was naturally. Since then, there's kind of been some adaptations to that rule that allows for yeast to be added to beer, and there's reasons for doing that for food safety.
Who comes up with the names? Because you have some interesting names. So I get the parking lot pecan, because you got pecan trees
we got the
out here in the parking lot. Donkey cart, I know, was from a picture
for the
showing
picture,
them getting the dirt out of the basement when they created the basement.
So,
what about the other?
So Big Tex is, I would call him lead engineer, Chris Franklin. We worked in West Texas on drill rigs for years and years and years, long time. And they always called him Big Tex because he always wore, he wore a pristine cowboy hat. When there was some of the other names, like Lion Slide Kolsch, which has become one of our top sellers.
That was my favorite Friday night when I was here.
Yeah. Lion Slide, my wife is from Kingsville, Texas, and there is a slide in Dick Clayburgh Park that is a big Art Deco lion, and you slide through it. You know, you're always trying to come up with a new name. It's a really hard thing to name a beer because you get, we made last year in total, I think I made 42 beers last year.
Wow.
Yeah, and considering in the slowdown and everything, we still made 42 individually different beers.
You've made 42.
Yes.
How many are usually on tap at any one time?
I might have 12 on draft and 18 bottled.
Okay, so you've got bottled beer, that's to go. So I could come by on a Thursday afternoon, grab a couple bottles, take it home.
Yeah.
And then Bernie, of course, has there's no open container prohibition.
Yes.
So if I'm out shopping on the Hill Country Mile, I can pop in, grab a plastic glass, and carry it out the door.
Definitely. So that is something that's special about Bernie compared to a lot of places, that we can walk around with an open container. And we like to say Bernie's for beer. That's kind of the term we've coined between all of us brewers. We do have a decent nightlife now, and most places have music pretty much every day from Wednesday on. Most places do.
So when do you guys have music?
But we do have music every Friday and Saturday, 5:30 to 8:30. We are open Thursday 4 to 8. We're Friday 11 to 9, and then we are 11 to 9 on Saturday, and then we are 12 to 6 on Sunday. So, and sometimes those hours on Friday and Saturday with music, we might run till 10, we might run till 10:30.
And I can vouch for that, because Friday night, I think we finally left around 10 p.m. we shut down the place, but friends and I, we had enjoyed the band. We were having fun, enjoying the beer. A couple of them were drinking the margaritas you have in cans. I know you have a wine selection
we do.
for those that aren't beer drinkers. So there's a little bit of everything. There's amazing food. We had sandwiches and paninis that were delicious. Y'all have the charcuterie board. I always get that word wrong. So there's food, there's beverages, it's kid friendly.
It is, yes, and dog friendly. So
of course I remember this as Bergman Lumber. It's still a little strange to me to walk in, but I love y'all used the cabinets, the countertops, just rearranged them. I love that you turned the lumber bins out underneath the shed where the beer garden is into the stage. It's all, you use the hammers. Hammers are your
outside
poles.
We used old hammers as our poles. I always chuckle because everybody said, "Oh man, they must have had so many old hammers here." I said, "No, Randy only sold new hammers. I don't think he even had an old hammer." It was surprisingly hard to find old hammers. it's an interesting being in this space. And I remember being in here and playing in the nail bins and sorting nails in the wrong spots and things, and getting a stern looking at. In our process, we start with our first tank up here. We add hot water and grain into it. It ends up looking like oatmeal in there, and we sit there for about 25 minutes, and then we come over to this tank that's got a door on the front. That's called a lauter tun, and essentially the term lauter is a German term to separate, and so we're separating the grain and the liquid. We sit in here, and it takes us anywhere from an hour to 2.5 hours to run off into the kettle, which is running right now. That's what we're in. And then we boil anywhere on the short side from 45 minutes to on the long side, we'll boil for 6-7 hours. If we're trying to make something real concentrated, real dark, we'll boil for a long time. And then we have a vessel that's called a whirlpool. And that's where we're able to separate our proteins, our hops, everything before we go through our heat exchanger to keep it a little bit cleaner. And then all these tanks here, every one of those tanks right now is filled with one of the beers that we're currently making. We don't have any empty. And so the goal is to try and keep them full. Brewing is 80% cleaning and 20% brewing. This brew house makes, on the larger end, we'll make about 300 gallons of beer off the end of it, or wort off the end of the process. So it'll yield us about 14 kegs of beer. And then that little machine right there, it makes 1 keg of beer. And we tend to brew once a week to keep up with demand. Bernie's a pretty thirsty German town,
So we're gonna end the video back where we started. I'm gonna finish my flight of beers. Till I see you guys again, have a wonderful week. Cheers.